I've been in an unhealthy relationship, but finally opened my eyes to it until recently. It has been hard to accept and also a difficult transition. While accepting that I've been blindly pursuing an unhealthy relationship, it has been a big wake-up call to the toll it has put on my life. I have been shedding the layers to bring in the relationship I know I want and deserve. I admit I was weak. He was a charmer. He told me he loved me and would protect me. That was in the beginning. In the beginning, he caught my attention by being the slight bad boy, but also the guy I wanted to be with forever because while I knew he had a dark side, I also got to know the side of him that embraced me like I belonged to him. He always whispered sweet things into my ear that I wanted to hear, such as, "I'll always be with you," or "I'll be with you forever." Men, they know exactly what to say to charm you. Once he's in, all the bad stuff he does just flies over your head and you begin to only see the guy that wants you all to himself because he loves you. I started to awaken to how controlling he was in our relationship. He knew from the beginning of my awareness of other men and women. While in the beginning I agreed to be in a relationship with only him, once I realized there was a world out there full of love and there was no limit to it, I expressed my interest in an open relationship. He didn't want me to hang out with other guys, and even my girlfriends, because he knew I was attracted to both men and women. Although he knew my desire to pursue an open relationship with him, he didn't seem to understand that my love for him wouldn't go away, but that I wanted to experience the different types of experiences in love that was present and evident in others too. He told me promises and that he had so much to offer me, now and even more in my future if I continued to stick with him. He also told me that if he couldn't have me, then no one could. I knew we all had some jealousy in us, but I never realized people could go this far. He said that if I left him and chose someone else, that he would kill me. He described my death as if he was a professional murderer or serial killer and enjoyed it. He said it would be so painful and that he'd make sure it lasted long enough for me to remember leaving him forever. He tried to comfort me by saying that it was out of love and only he knows what's best for me. He also said I should trust that any other love I think I may find with anyone else, no matter how real it may feel, is not real love, but only he can love me right. While he claimed I could leave at any time if I chose to, he also said he would later find me if I tried to run away and hide from him. Man, did he put fear inside of me. The images of what could happen if I decided to leave him started to be less of his graphics and more of my own. He no longer had to feed the images to me because he fed me just enough for me to take it from there and let my own imagination run with it. Slowly I started to realize that this isn't love. It took me a really long time to get here. I realized that if he really loved me, he would freely let me go and be happy with whomever made me happy. In the beginning of this realization, I couldn't stop hearing his words of, "It's me or no one else. It's me or death." Man, it was hard because he was the only love I ever really knew. While the things he said to me portrayed his dark side, I did experience his love, so I really knew he loved me, but it was all I knew and wasn't sure still. What if I took a risk to see if there is another love out there, a different experience? My understanding of love, or at least the love that I want to give myself and experience, is a free love. A love that will allow me to walk away on good terms when I realize one of us is not being fulfilled or that the people we want to be cannot show up in the way we desire. Of course, I know that many times things can be worked out. But let's admit that not every relationship is going to last forever, and every current relationship is the one you need at the time you're in time in your life. So I did it. I decided to take a risk. It was worth it for me to risk my life for freedom, even if it was for a little while until he found me. At least then I will have experienced someone else to know for myself that there is any other love besides his. I must admit, before I found the love of another person, the initial freedom was scary as you would imagine it to be. Living in fear each day, he might find me and do as he said, take my life from me. Once I realized, though, that he had instilled a fear in me that was unnecessary only to gain control over me, I started to relax and started learning who I am without him. I realized this whole time I had been caught up in getting to know him that I didn't even recognize myself. I only knew myself through him. I started to discover myself, figuring out what I really wanted out of life and discovering that there are so many beautiful experiences with other people that he had kept me from. He said it was for my own good, but I realized after the fact that he didn't want me to experience pleasure without feeling guilty about it. Once I could finally hear my voice without the echo of his threats, I decided to get out there and date again. Oh man, there were so many options. Good ones too. I mean, some were not my type, but I finally learned what I liked and disliked from the time to myself that it became easier to weed out the ones I knew for sure weren't just cutting it. I decided not to discriminate. I dated both men and women. I mean, the attraction was there, so why ignore it? I started to realize that using gender as an excuse not to date someone was really limiting all the different quality people. I mean, I was attracted to their personality and their spirit, not just their gender. So there it was. Well, I mean, there I was, a polyamorous bisexual who had not long ago escaped an unhealthy relationship. One might think my unhealthy relationship caused all this chaos of my current decisions. I consider it me realizing what I really wanted after having only known one type of love. It's not to say that heterosexual monogamous relationships don't work, I just mean that it's not for me, at least not at this time in my life. If I meet someone later that I feel I want to be monogamous with, I'm open to that again, just as long as it's in love, not fear. I'm open to change, discovery, and experience. All through life, I will always be changing, sometimes more in certain areas than others, but change is always happening according to experience. Looking back, I realized how my experience of an unhealthy relationship also affected the relationships around me. I related all of my other relationships to the only love relationship I had ever really known. This relationship was my relationship with God. He told me he loved me and would be with me forever. He said that he was the only love and any other love experienced was not real. Well, he did promise me a lot of amazing things if I decided to stay with him. He said that if I tried to find someone else, that he would allow me to choose to leave, but that he would be sure to make me pay for my decision later by death and torture for what will be forever, all out of love.